Okay, so hopefully you watched the other video I put up on finding all the roots, all the zeros, right? If not, please go check that video out and in preparation for your test. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next kind of concept. It's still in a similar vein of this, of what we're doing, kind of. So this one says find the remaining factors given a polynomial and one of its factors, okay? So what that means is basically they're giving you this thing right here, x cubed minus 6x squared plus 11x minus 6, and they're saying, well, one of the factors is x minus 2. They're saying, well, find the other ones for me. Well, how you do that? Well, remember when we used to do synthetic division? Basically, that's all we're going to do, okay? But we're going to go back to the old school rule where we see I'm going to be pretty much dividing this by that, okay? And be careful, that little thing right there in between that little symbol right there is just a semicolon, okay? It means this is the polynomial and this is one of its factors, all right? So I'm going to go basically back to old school synthetic. See that x minus 2? Switch that sign, put it in the box, okay? So I'm going to put a positive 2 in the box. If you want to put a plus sign there, you can, okay? And let's just do synthetic division with this thing, all right? So what's the number in front of x cubed? Well, it's like a 1, right? So 1, all right? You remember this? Remember that? Okay. So that's my first step. Just do synthetic division with this thing. Let's go ahead and do that for me. All right, I'm going to have, well, let's see, I dropped down the 1, right? So I drop down the 1, multiply the 1 by the number in the box, and that'd be 1 times 2 is, well, 2. And then just combine down. Negative 6 plus 2 is like a negative 4. And remember, 2, then you multiply again. The number down below, now this time, this is going to be the negative 4. Multiply it by 2. And it would be a negative 8. Now, just like when we did it before on the other video I talked about, the one where you found all the zeros, you should have a remainder of 0. And just like with this one, because you're finding factors, you should also have a remainder of 0. And let's figure it out if we will. Let's see, 11 minus 8 is a 3. Okay, 3 times 2 is a 6. Look at that. Negative 6 and 6 cancel out to give you a 0 as your remainder, okay? So, now let's see what we got. Well, we had an x cubed to start with. We do synthetic. Remember, it breaks down essentially our highest power. It drops it down 1. So instead of having so our answer wouldn't have an x to the third, but our answer would have 1 less than that. So x squared. So think of like a 1x squared minus 4x plus 3. Now, if it told me to find all the zeros, right, or all the roots or whatever, I would basically have to do, what, quadratic formula with this? But what does ask us for? It says find the remaining factors of this thing, okay? So all I've got to do after this is just factor. So we can either do the star method thing, right, or we can do the old school trick. Well, multiply to get you the back number, right? Well, 2 numbers multiply to get you the back, but add or subtract or however to get you the middle, okay? So let's think about it. Well, some factors of 3 are 3 and 1, right? And that's pretty much it. So I know that 3 and 1, somehow, or whatever order you want it, are going to work. And remember also, I know I'm going to have an x in both sets of parentheses, okay? The biggest question is what the sign of them are going to be, okay? Well, they had to multiply to get me a positive, but add to get me a negative, okay? Well, 2 negatives make a positive, right? And if I combine 2 negatives together, get me a negative, right? That means if I do negative 1 plus a negative 3, gives me a negative 4. And if I do negative 1 times a negative 3, the 2 negatives that cancel out give me a positive. And this would be your final answer. That's it. Your first step was to do division, synthetic division. Your second step was a factor. That's it, okay? Let me do another one. Hopefully my phone memory won't conk out on me, okay? All right. Now, what's the number in front of my x right here? This number from my x. Well, the number in front of my x is a 2. Remember, going back to old school synthetic, what we have to do is we got to divide everything by that number out front. Now, not this number. I'm not talking about this 2 right here. I'm talking about that 2 right there. Whatever that number is, I always got to divide everything by it, okay? If that was a 3, I divide everything by 3, okay? But it's not. It's a 2, okay? It doesn't have to do with this one. Has to do with this number right here, the number in front of this x, okay? So let's do that. That'd be, let's see, if I cancel everything out, my new equation will be x cubed plus, I'm going to leave everything as fractions here, just because I'm a bit masochistic. I'm not a fan of fractions, but hey, it's all right. A little pain, no gain, right? All right, then let's do the same thing we did last time, okay? All right, our number out back's positive 7/2. Let's change it to a negative 7/2. Let me get my marker out here. Put that in the box. What are we going to put in here? What are we going to put beside of it? Well, our coefficients, right? Our numbers out front. Well, number from my x cubed is a 1. Number in front of my x squared is a 7/2. Let's keep on going. If you're not sure where I got that, just look around. Hopefully you can see where I got all those numbers from, okay? All right, let's do the same steps we did before. Drop down the 1, multiply the number down below by the number in the box, and put it right here. I'm going to start simplifying some things out, because if I do 17 halves minus 7 halves, I'll have 10 halves, right? Well, 10 halves is just 5, okay? 10 halves, 10 divided by 2 is just 5, okay? Let's keep on going. 5 times negative 7 halves, negative 35 over 2. And what would that be? Let me think. Let me just make sure I'm not messing it up. 35 over 2. Let's do this. Okay. It just ends up being negative 6, actually. That's right, because I think it'd be like negative 12 over 2, which negative 12 divided by 2 is just negative 6, okay? Let's keep on going. Let's multiply that, negative 6, by that number inside the box, the negative 7 halves. Now give me a positive 21. Now remember what I said last time, our remainder should be 0. And hey, it is 0. Beautiful. All right. Now, what was our highest power here? It was x to the third. What was this one right here? Well, our answer would be 1 less, so start off with a 1x squared if you want to think of it like that. We don't need the 1 there, but I'm just putting it there so you see what happened to it, right? Same thing as last time. Give me some numbers that multiply to get me a negative 6, right? But add to give me a positive 5, okay? Let's think about this for a minute. Well, I know I'm going to have an x in both sets of parentheses out front, but the question is the numbers. Because 6 can break up into two things. Well, it can break up into 6 and 1, but it can also break up into 3 and 2, and they can both somehow combine to get me a 5, okay? Let's think about this for a minute. I want to do some brainstorming right now. All right, I'm going to write to the side in pencil so I can erase it. Well, if I have an, let's say, I don't know, let's do the 3 and 2 deal, okay? Well, if I did, well, that's got to be a negative somehow, so one of them has to be negative. Well, that's not going to work, right? And if I do the other way around, x minus 3x plus 2, well, if I combine those, I'd get a negative 1, right? Which I don't want, all right? Let's do something else. Let's do a positive 6 and a negative 1, okay? Because 6 times a negative 1, I'll show it to you. 6 times a negative 1 is a negative 6, and if I do 6 minus 1 is a 5. Okay, beautiful. That's our answer, okay? A positive 6 and a negative 1, okay? And that would be all we have to do, okay? A little bit of brain power required for that last one because we had a couple different options there. But that is what our final answer would be, because all we have to do is find the remaining factors, nothing else. And those are our two remaining factors, x plus 6 and x minus 1, okay? So I came up with this one. Hopefully it'll work out just lovely. So this is going to be one where you're given this, 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 5x minus 2 as your polynomial, and one of the factors is x minus 1. Let's do those same two steps again. What two steps am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about these two steps right here. Synthetic division, then factor, okay? Let's do synthetic division with that x minus 1. Remember, do this. Switch the sign of a positive 1 in the box, and I'll write my coefficients out here, okay? All right, drop down the 3, multiply the 3 times 1. Well, 3 times 1 is a 3. Add down. 4 plus 3, 7. Keep on going. 7 times 1 is a 7, right? Add down. That'll become a positive 2. 2 times a 1 is a 2. Remember, our remainder should be 0. And look at that. Look at that. Happy little 0, all right? So, remember our original problem was 3x to the third. So, it's going to be 1 power less than that. So, 3x to the second plus 7x plus 2. That'll be our new equation, right? Now, this one's a bit funny because the number in front of my x squared isn't a 1 like it was on the other two examples I gave y'all a minute ago, right? Now, you can either do one of two ways. I'm going to show you the star method way, okay? I'm going to write down star method right here. Here's one way to do it, all right? Here's a star method, all right? Well, I'm going to label my numbers just like I kind of did before. Now, I'm not doing quadratic formula, but I'm still going to label them because I still use it, all right? Draw my star. Up top is whatever your A times your C is, and down bottom is your B, okay? So, what's your A? Well, your A is 3. What's your C? 2. 3 times 2, 6. Your B is going to go down there. B's a 7, all right? And off the side, I usually kind of like write the word I like to write the little thing AX just to kind of tell me what I'm going to write down there. Now A is a 3, and X is just whatever variables I'm dealing with. So I usually like to write 3X in both of these. Okay, so the number up front. Okay, so pause right now if you need to let this sink in for a second. Okay. Now, I'm still going to kind of do the same thing before where I figure out what adds to get me one thing and multiplies to get me the other. This time, I'm going to think of what multiplies to get me a 6, but adds to get me a 7, okay? What multiplies to get me a 6, but adds to get me a 7. Well, 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7, all right? So that's going to be my numbers I'm going to put right here, 6 and 1, because 6 times 1 gives me a 6, and 6 plus 1 gives me a 7. That's the star method little rule, okay? Now, your last step here, you can't just leave it like this. You have to actually reduce down what you see. 3 over 1, well, 3, that can't reduce down any. There's nothing in common. How about 3 over 6? Well, they're both divisible by what? They're both divisible by 3. 3, 6 could reduce down to 1/2. Okay, that means this is one of your factors, a 3x plus 1. This is one of your binomials. And the other is that 1x plus 2. Again, the reason why I didn't leave it as is because I said I have to reduce down that fraction. At 3x over 6 I saw, I got to reduce it down to 1x over 2. And again, if you see it on test, you can literally type in 3 over 6. If you're not sure what that can reduce down to, hit 3 divided by 6 in the calculator, hit enter, then hit math. See where it says fraction, enter, enter, and it converts that to the simplest fraction it can be. That's why I have that 1 over 2 right there on the left side. Anyway, so let's write these answers out. So one of mine is 1x. Well, that's a positive 2, so one of my answers is like an x plus 2. I don't need the 1 out front. And the other is a 3x plus 1. Okay? Okay, that's my answers, okay? These are the remaining factors. These are the remaining factors. Now let me show you the other way to do it. I don't know if you guys will like this way better or not, but I'm going to show you this way. Here's the other way I've seen people do it. They like to say, well, give me some factors of 2, and they say, well, 2 times 1 is 2, right? That's the only option I have. And how about over here? Well, 3 times 1 is the only option as well. And sometimes what you will get is more options. You have to do, this is basically the trial and error method. I'm going to write that up here. This is like the trial and error method, okay? It basically just means you got to try different combinations. Now, if let's say that wasn't 3, that was 6 or something like that, you could break that down into more than just one possibility, right? And you have to test out all those possibilities, okay? But in this case, there's only one possibility for each. Whenever you break apart that first number, that tells you what the what the coefficient in front of your x's are going to be. So remember how we used to factor? We used to just write 2 sets of parentheses and write x plus a number, x plus another number, something like that. Well, this time, the only difference is whatever the number is, whatever the factors of that 3, the 3 and 1, that's going to go in front of our x's, okay? And then the number out back, what that factors out to out back is going to go behind those x's, okay? Well, 2 and 1 is our only option, but the thing we got to be careful with is where the trial and error comes into place, is where we put the 2 and the 1, okay? I don't know, let's say I thought this. Let's say I thought that was one of my solutions. Well, I'd have to multiply out and check. Well, if I multiplied this thing out and say, okay, I mean, so I have to distribute 3x squared plus a 3x, and then distribute that out, right? And that would give me 3x squared plus 3 plus 5 right there. Remember, combine like terms in the middle there, plus 5x plus 1. Well, wait, that's not even, sorry, plus 2 is what I meant to say. Plus 2, that's not the same thing as what we had before. So you got to say, well, something about that, what I had right there was wrong. And you have to say, okay, scratch that. Let me try a different combination. That's where the trial and error part of this comes in. That's the only reason why I do suggest star methods sometimes, because, well, even though it is a bit more of a pain, it can still give you the right answer 100% of the time. There's no guessing and checking involved. There's no trial and error involved, right? So I'm going to go ahead and write down that 3x and that 1x in the other set. I'm going to go ahead and try the other combination. Well, I tried this combination over here. Let's try the other one. Let's flip that 2 and that 1 for a second. Let's put our 1 over here and our 2 over here. And let's double check our answer. Well, 3x squared, right? Because I multiply 3x times a 1x. 3x times a 2 would be a 6x. 1 times 1x is a plus 1x. 1 times 2 is a 2. And lo and behold, look at that. Combine those like terms in the middle. 3x squared plus a 7x plus a 2. And that is exactly what we got up here. Okay? So therefore, this would be your your final answer, okay? So let's go back over kind of what I did there, all right? I'm going to kind of flip my paper back over for just a second, okay? So first step we did, synthetic division, right? We did synthetic division with this and that, all right? Then we factored it out. Now with this one, you could either do the star method like I showed you right here. You can get the same answer as you would do if you did the trial and error method down here, okay? Both ways work. Trial and error just usually takes a bit more, just a bit more patience, I guess, in a sense. Star works 100% of the time, and you never have to really do any guessing and checking, okay? But either way, your final answer would be x plus 2 and 3x plus 1, whichever way you do it, if you do star and if you do trial and error, okay? So I'll leave you on that with the finding remaining factors, okay? I'm going to move on to the next thing, the next video for just a second. Thanks for watching, guys.